I'm Tori, and this is Desta, and we're from the Mass Crusaders of B-Town. And we're just here to talk about our pattern a little bit today. Hopefully it'll be easy for you to get through, but we'll get you started.
Okay, so we have a 7.5 by 15-inch piece of fabric here. We have 2 cuts of fabric here that are 2 inches by 4.5 that have been double folded. You can also use commercial bias tape for that. We have a 6.5-inch piece of moldable plastic covered wire here for our nose piece. We have 2 12-inch cuts of 1/8-inch elastic. In addition to those, we also have a ruler to help with our measurements later, a washable marker. I found that a crochet hook really helps to get the elastic through the casing later, a pair of scissors, and some clips or pins.
I understand that elastic can be hard to come by, especially 1/8, but if you can find it, that is preferred?
That is preferred. The 1/8 ear loops, which is what I am currently wearing, is what we will be demonstrating today. But if you don't have that, you can make, there's another option with 1/4-inch elastic that will make 2 straps that go around the head. Or if you can't find elastic at all, we do also have an option in there for ties as well, which can be made either out of the similar double folded fabric or out of commercial bias tape.
All right. So all these options, do you change the main body at all of the mask?
The main body is absolutely the same.
Great. Okay. You want to show us how that's done? It looks like you're serging the short end of our fabric to finish it.
So I don't actually have a serger,
Okay.
but that's okay because I can just run a zigzag stitch across the edge here.
It looks like you're putting the right sides together, matching up the finished short edges.
And then after that, we measure out 1.5 inches from either side. Mark 1.5 inches on each side there. And we go back over to the sewing machine.
You're gonna sew each side and with a straight stitch. And what's your seam allowance there?
It is a 3/8-inch seam allowance, reinforcing both at the beginning and the end. And I only sew right up to that 1.5 inch mark there. So we have a good place to put our filter later.
So the middle, the 4.5 inches that you have in the center, they're not sewn together. You've got an opening there for the filter later on, yeah?
Yep. We're gonna press this seam open here. Our next step is going to be to top stitch around your opening so that it has a nice finished edge there. So now that we have our stitching done around all 4 sides of our pocket here, we want to turn it right side out. And we'll make a mark about 1/2 inch up on either side.
So with that slit in the back, is that the back now?
That is now the back.
So if we had a pattern on our cloth, we'd want to make sure it was facing up in the front.
Yes, if we had a directional fabric, you would want it to be facing up this direction. So, but that 1/2 inch mark becomes our new top edge, and then we take it over and we press it. So our next step is to, with a 1/4 inch seam, sew around the top edge, and then we'll do an 1/8 inch around the other 3 edges. The 1/4 inch will be making a pocket for our nose piece later. We made sure to leave the ends open here at that top with that 1/4 inch stitching. So next we're going to take our rounded ends of our nose piece here and slide it in. If I cannot catch.
This is the part I get excited about because it starts to become a mask.
Yes, it starts to become a mask at this point. Okay. Then our next step is to put in the pleats. You want to make sure that the pleats are going to face down on the front of the mask. Since we have it face down already here, I'm going to go ahead and pinch. Maybe. And clip.
Does it matter how big your pleats are?
So the pleats tend to be about between a 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. And you can see that when we turn this over face up, that the pleats are facing down. And after you've ironed it, I'm gonna swap that out. This one has already been measured and ironed. So you can see we're about 3.5 inches, and we're still about 7.5 inches wide. Next, what we need to do is come over here and sew. Our next step is to face down those pleats. You want to make sure and stay close to the edge there, about an 1/8 inch if you can, so then your stitching will not be showing once we put the casing or the ties on. And once you get the thread out of the way, we will repeat for the other side.
It looks like a magical stick you're pushing your fabric.
Isn't it? It's wonderful, and I'm trying to remember what it's called now.
Is that something that you have to have for the pattern?
Absolutely not. It's just handy.
Oh, so it looks like you have a mask body.
We do. We have the completed mask body here with our pocket in the rear and our nose piece secured.
So where's the top exactly?
This is the top.
All right.
This is also the back. And the pleats face down in the front.
Fantastic. So now we just got to get it on our face.
Now we got to get it on our face.
And it looks like we have 3 options to do that.
Yep, and today we're going to demonstrate how to make the ear loops with the 1/8 inch elastic. Our first step in putting the casing on to hold the elastic is to match up that edge there and open up your double folded bias tape.
So you're putting that on the front of the mask?
Yes, this is the front of the mask.
Okay.
And securing it on. leaving about a 1/2 inch on the top and bottom. Doesn't have to be exact, but roundabouts is good. And then we'll fold over that edge around the edge of the mask and clip that as well. I'll do that on both sides. Okay, now we're gonna go so. Then after we get that wrapped around the edges, then we will stitch it down with about a 3/8 inch seam.
When you're done, that little piece of fabric wraps around the mask body and then you're gonna flip it over?
Yes.
Okay.
So next, what we're gonna do is we'll flip it around so the back is facing us. Turn that so it's flat that way.
Nice.
And those edges, go ahead and just finger press that, okay, so that those edges are encased and you don't have to worry about them later.
So when you fold it, do you fold it tight against the mask body or does it form a tube of some kind?
It actually, you just fold it where your creases were.
Okay.
So it'll be close to the edge body, but it doesn't have to be right up next to it. After we get that wrapped and enclosed in there, we want to go ahead and with about an 1/8 inch from that edge there, go ahead and stitch it down.
And that'll form the tube where in option 1 and 2 we thread our elastic, yes?
Yes, that is how we get the tube or casing for our elastic.
Fantastic. Oh look, it's a mask body that's ready to get put onto your face, but not quite yet. What's going on?
We don't have any way to attach it to our head yet.
Okay.
We do have these handy dandy little tunnels on the side here, and we will show you how to make the ear loops. Take a small safety pin, and this is where the crochet hook comes in handy. I'm gonna go ahead and open up both sides of this tube so I make sure that I'm not catching anywhere before I put this through. Pull that crochet hook all the way through. Hook that safety pin on there. Oh, and it's not behaving now. And pull it through.
So Desta, I know we've gotten a couple of masks where people are just sewing ends of the elastic to the mask, and it seems like sometimes the stitches break or something and they just pop off a little easier.
Yep.
Is it better to loop it through and tie it?
It is definitely better to loop it through and tie it, because as we tie this little knot here in the end, that makes it so that whoever ends up with this mask can easily adjust this. So if they need to make it smaller, they can just put another knot in there or retie that knot. If they need to make it bigger, they can push that knot out to the end a little bit more.
And I see that the length on this elastic is 12 inches. Is that
Yes.
to make sure that a person with a wider face or a thinner face has the
Yes.
ability to adjust?
Yes, that gives us a lot of room for adjustment. And we just do it to the other side.
So when you're finished and you have the knot, do you need to slide the knot into the tunnel casing or just put it at the bottom, or does it really matter?
It doesn't really matter. If you're worried about the knot showing, you can most certainly pull that into the casing there. Or you can just snug it up right up next to the edge there.
And it's nice when it's out, I guess, because then people know that they can adjust it a little more.
Yes, then you know that they can adjust it.
Fantastic.
And there you have a completed mask. That is option 1.
Yeah, you can go donate it at 360 Office Solutions to the Village Clinic.
Yes.
Fantastic. That's option 1 now.
Option
Say I don't
1.
have the 1/8 inch elastic because I have no idea what I have. Then what is our next option
Okay.
2?
So if you don't have the nice narrow 1/8 inch elastic, say you have some 1/4 inch elastic, you can still make a mask. Just don't make it with this way, because the 1/4 inch doesn't hook on your ears very well.
I would think that'd get pretty sore.
It does get those ear's a little more irritated. But so we're gonna take this and we're gonna make some slightly different straps with it. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this 1/4 inch through that casing there, maybe.
So it doesn't matter which direction you're pulling. I know the directions say to pull it a specific way, but do we really care where the knot ends up so much?
As long as you end up with a loop going from one side to the other, it doesn't really matter if you're pulling it both from the bottom or both from the top, or just want to make sure that you end up with a loop going from one side to the other.
It looks like you're being really careful to keep it super flat.
Yes. Try and make, because this is thicker elastic, make sure that your elastic doesn't get twisted when you go to put that knot in there. Coordination. And there is option 2.
Oh, we have another mask.
We have another mask.
Gotta go donate it.
Yeah, I already got 2 done. Okay. And then option 3. This involves sewing.
So if you have no elastic whatsoever, because I'm sure I don't, then this is what we'll use. And we can either use fabric that matches, and we just make the binding ties in the same foldy fashion as you would a bias tape, which is what you have here, is that right?
This is commercial bias tape.
Okay.
I have found the middle of my tie and about the middle of my mask. I'm just kind of eyeing it here, but you can certainly mark it if you'd like. Open that edge up and set that in there. And clip or pin your tie in place so that both sides are fully encased. And we bring it over and sew. Before we sew it, you'll want to fold the end over and then close it back up. So then we don't have any raw edges sticking out there, nothing that's gonna catch. And then we just sew all the way across, about an 1/8 inch from that inside edge there. So when you approach the edge of the mask body, you want to make sure and reinforce that seam just a little bit there by going back and forth once or twice. And then continue on all the way to the end of the other side. And then repeat for the other side.
Once you get rocking and rolling and you've done the pattern a couple of times, how long does it normally take you to rock out a mask?
It'll take me about 20 minutes or so to make a completed mask. But I have found that if you're going to do a bunch of masks, it actually speeds up the process if you do multiples at the same time. So if you get all of your mask bodies cut out at once, and then you can go and sew all the edges at once and do each step as you go with every mask, it'll actually speed up your time even more.
Sounds good, like a little assembly line.
It is a little
All to
assembly
yourself,
line.
because we can't do it together.
Yeah, and we already have 3 masks that we have here to donate.
Fantastic. And those donation locations are posted on the website. Yeah, so thank you so much for showing us today. I really feel like that's going to make people like me who don't really follow patterns very well, it's going to be a lot easier.
Well, thank you for having me.
If you need help getting your system started, getting your pattern going, a couple of questions here and there, come on over to Facebook. Join us at Mask Crusaders of B-Town, and we'll get those questions answered for you. We are a community of people who like to sew and like to support people who do sew. So you're welcome to come on over.